What's up everybody, today we're taking a look at the updated and slightly reworked Rookery on Mythic, going over important trash abilities and boss mechanics, starting off with notable trash before the first boss. First room, Quartermaster Koratite. Beware of their bounding void frontal, sends out orbs that returns back to sender. Also has Entropy Shield, blocking all frontal attacks and spells. You want to make sure to interrupt Cursed Thunderer's Lightning Bolt, and in the next room, several Cursed Thunderers are lightning infused, increasing their attack and cast speed by 25%, so you want to make sure to dispel or spell steal this. Void Riders cast Wild Lightning, spawning lines of swirls towards players' locations. Spread out a bit right before this goes out so there's space between the lines. Healers, beware of their localized Storm Channel AoE. Hearts, Unruly Stormrook's Energized Barrage, 3-sec channel dealing a ton of damage to its target. These are always together with Rook Tenders, and you want to make sure to interrupt their Lightning Surge because it increases nearby Stormrook's damage and attack speed. Lastly, make sure to clear all of the room or you will most likely pull them during the boss fight. For the first boss, we have Kyrioss. Spread out when boss casts Crashing Thunder. Each player gets an 8-yard circle around them, dealing damage to anyone hit. This means melee might need to lose uptime for a second. During Wild Lightning, boss sends out lines of lightning swirls towards each player. This is always cast after Crashing Thunder, so just stay spread a bit and they're easier to dodge. And at 100 energy, boss flies into the middle and 4 rotating beams spawn. You want to check for the lightning orbs and stand to the side of them. During this, players spawn lightning swirls underneath them, don't get hit. Boss then leaps to a new location, dealing damage and knocking anyone hit. And then it's just rinse repeat. Following this, it's time to jump down to the platform below and make sure to pick up a feather. This gives you slow fall but also gives you an extra action button you can use to get down faster and on your way to notable trash before the second boss. Void Cursed Crusher's attack stack up Feasting Void on tanks, which is a 2% healing reduction per stack. Also leaps furthest away targets with Void Crush, so you want to spread a bit as they do AoE damage where they land, or you can root, stun, etc. to keep him in check. The Coalescing Void Diffuser spawn a giant orb swirl that pulls players into it, dealing damage over 7 seconds before detonating, dealing lethal damage to anyone inside. You also want to interrupt the Corrupted Oracle's Void Bolt and decurse their Seeping Corruption, causes players to drop swirls that fears. Now for the second boss, we have Stormguard Gorren. Main thing to keep an eye on here is the Chaotic Corruption. One player gets a dot and circle that lasts for 5 seconds. This dot has 4 charges, and when it expires, it jumps to the nearest player and loses a charge. And the player it jumped from takes 100% increased damage from this, which stacks. So you don't want the same player to take this debuff multiple times, unless they're a tank or have heavy defensive cooldowns. Then we have Crush Reality, targets a random player's location with a giant circle, leaps over, dealing a ton of damage on impact and sends out shadow waves and spawns a puddle. It's random who he jumps to, but you can bait it by just having everyone somewhat stacked where you want him to drop a puddle to avoid using up too much space. We'll also cast Dark Gravity, 10-yard AoE that pulls everyone in towards it, dealing damage to everyone over 6 seconds. And when it goes off, you take lethal damage if you get hit and knocked back. So you want to position boss away from puddles a bit before he casts this, so you have space to move during the sucky. And we have notable trash before the last boss. Want to make sure to interrupt the Void Ascendant's Void Bolt. Also slaps tanks with Feasting Void, 18-second dot that deals damage and absorbs healing. Can be dispelled. Lastly, we have Consuming Void Stones. They cast Void Extraction, increasing its damage done by 1% per nearby mob, but reduces their damage by 5. And at 30%, they start casting Unleash Darkness, periodically spawning swirls under all players. Then we have the last boss, Voidstone Monstrosity. Target tank's location with a giant frontal line, Oblivion Wave. Don't get hit. Inflicts Unleash Corruption on 2 players, 12-second dot, dealing heavy damage every half second. When it's dispelled or expires, the players poop out Seeping Corruption, so beware where you drop these. Now at the start and throughout the fight, boss will pop a 20% absorb shield. When it's nuked down, Storm Rider Vokmar will eventually essentially stun the boss for 20 seconds, increasing its damage taken by 100%. This is where you want your DPS cooldowns. Think of the pad! And when the boss casts Null Upheaval, players get knocked back, movement speed increased, and a circle around them. And 3 Voidstone fragments spawn. They can spawn at any side of the boss, front or sides. Goal is to break each fragment using the circle around each player. If you don't break them, they turn into big Voidstone adds, which you really want to avoid. Other than that, it's just rinse repeat. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or tips and tricks for the dungeon. If you want to help support my channel, check out my Patreon, Twitch, or YouTube membership. You gain access to these Stankie Discord shoutouts and videos. Don't forget the usual stuff: like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It really helps me out. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.